Hello, my name is Ashley, and I'm here with two special guests today to talk about their experience entering into a new foster home. Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Hi everyone, my name is Isaiah Jesse Palomo. I'm from Idaho where the potatoes grow. I'm 21 years old and I spent time in care about 2 years in the system of Idaho. But I'm currently living in Seaside and I enjoy hanging out on Wednesday nights doing peer up.
Hi, my name's Alexis Basca. I am from the wonderful state of Oregon. I spent 5.5 years in Oregon's foster care system. I am 21 years old. I also currently live in Seaside and I am going to school to pursue political science and become the president someday.
Great, thank you both. So I have a few questions for you, and both of you can answer, or just one of you, whichever way you want to go with it. So my first question is: when entering your initial foster care placement, so the first placement you ever went to, were you confused about the role of a foster parent?
I was very confused as far as what was even happening. I didn't even know what was going on until 2 weeks after being in care of that I was in place in foster care. So I was just very confused on whose doorstep I was at, who I was meeting, and I didn't have. I had one brother, and it was actually at a group home, so it wasn't even a foster home. It was just more like, oh, that's a person. They're calling her by a special name. I forgot what house name it was supposed to be, but then there was a bunch of other foster youth, so it was very confusing.
Okay.
I was extremely confused. I had never even heard of the foster care system before I was at DHS, and they're like, "Okay, you're gonna stay the night here, and we'll figure out what's going on next." And I remember the first night, I was so afraid. I didn't even sleep under the covers. I just slept right on top of them. I'm like, I don't want to mess up their bed and their sheets, and um, I wasn't really sure what was going on. And it's like, it was just expected that I go as everything being normal, go to school the next day, act like everything's fine, and really I my whole world had just turned upside down. I had no idea what to expect or what was going on.
Great. Thank you both for sharing. Were you confused about your role as a foster child, like sort of how you fit into a new home each time you transitioned into a new one? Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, I was the oldest of five, so I was very aware of taking house chores and responsibilities. And so going into each new home that I had five placements total. So each placement I went into, I was very confused on what I was supposed to do there. My first instinct was to start doing dishes or to clean something, and like, oh no, don't worry about that just yet. Like, relax, be a kid, relax, be a kid. I'm like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And some of the homes I had my siblings in, some of them I didn't. So I just was very not sure of what I was supposed to do as a young kid. So it was very weird.
I was definitely confused because living with my parents my entire life up to that point. I was 15 when I entered care. Um, Being in a stranger's home, I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to use anything. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to stir the pot. It felt like I was walking on eggshells a lot. So I tried to stay in my room a lot so that I wouldn't bug anyone or be a burden or in the way. And then my foster parents would be like, why don't you come spend time with us? And I'm like, I don't really know what to do, what that looks like. Especially growing up in the house, my home, my whole life, I didn't really do chores and things like that. That wasn't my biggest priority. It was okay, what am I gonna eat for dinner, or how am I gonna get my clothes clean, or how am I gonna do X, Y, and Z. So I never really thought oh my goodness, I need to do the dishes and clean the house and things like that. So it was a little opposite of Isaiah because it was kind of just me
Mm-hmm.
um, on my own, and I didn't really get that guidance. So I mean, I consider myself domestically challenged. I didn't really know how to do any of those things. I was never taught how to do basic household chores and things like that because no one was there to tell me to or show me how to. So when I entered into my foster home and they're like, "Oh, load the dishwasher," and I bloated it how I thought it was supposed to be done, and they're like, no, that's not how you do that. So that was a very tough transition.
Okay. Thank you. And Isaiah, you already said that you had 5 different placements. Alexis, how many placements?
I had 3 placements.
3 different placements. Okay. And what was it like to move placements? Like each time that you entered a new home, what was that like for you? How did the transition sort of take place?
I always thought I did something wrong, and there were some placements where I had my younger siblings. So I had times I had my 2 younger brothers. We always looked at each other like, "What's going on? What one of you guys did something?" So we were always like hurt at the time. But then there was one placement in particular where it was just we had to get out of there, and I did what I had to talk to the people and talk to the foster parents and get us into that home. So that was like the first placement that I already knew of what I was getting into, and it was the best home I was in. But as far as all the other placements, I was just very confused. Like it was like, is it my fault? Or was it one of you guys? Why are we moving? But then come out to be it was just because of location change of the court. So my mom had to switch to another city, so they want to move it closer and have us closer in the area. So
Okay. So did you generally know about the move in advance?
some for me.
Okay.
I actually initiated each of my movements. I was very fortunate to have family friends and relatives that would open their home to me. But at the same time, it was like they all wanted me to live with them. And like my family, not all of them I wanted to live with. So it's like they were pulling me in 10 different directions. And like, if you say no, I don't want to live with you. Like, it's like burning that bridge. But when I did try to move, it was like every time I was trying to find that sense of belonging. It's like each placement I felt like just totally out of place and like a burden, and that I was just kind of in their way. So I was trying to find like that, like loving family, somebody that comforts you when you cry, or it's not a big deal if you it's not the end of the world if you make a small mistake. And I always like felt like if I made the littlest mistake that it would be like a meltdown and they'd send me away. So it's like I would try to move first before they could like kick me out. I would essentially like run away to try to find a different placement. um, I would say that the hardest part though about it was like trying to readjust, because like your first placement you get accustomed, you're like, okay, this is kind of what this looks like, and every other foster home is going to be this way, and then you move to your second one and it's like totally different. um it was just it was interesting.
Okay. Was there ever any confusion about what to call members of a new foster family or your foster parents? And can you talk to me about what that was like?
All the time. So my younger brother, he was, I forgot what age he was, but he was very young, and so he would always go up to the foster parent and call him like, "Do I call you mom? Do I call you dad?" And I was 13, so I was like, "No, you don't call them anything. You call them by their name." And so we always got confused on what to call the people in the house. And if everyone else was calling him mom, it was just kind of like a natural thing for all of us. And I remember going up to my mom and be like, "Yeah, our mom so and so," and she's like, "What?" And she like got very angry. And I'm like, "Okay, never mind. She is, by her name, no more her mom." And at one of the placements we came, and I had asked them like, "What do we call you?" Because it's always been a struggle. And they're like, "Oh, you could just call us, Mama thing, or Mama that, or Daddy this." And I'm like, "Oh, or Dad, Papa, or whatever." So they made nicknames for them, and it was very nice. Or they're like, "Just call us by the names that you're comfortable with." So that, like, it was, I think, in my second to third placement, I asked. One of the placements I live with my dad, so it was like I had to call him my dad. But yeah, so towards the mid of my like time of care, I started asking like, "What do I call you?" Before I was just like, I don't even want to say your name. Don't come up to me. I won't call you anything. So towards the end, I got comfortable just asking them, what can I call you? Because I don't want to cross that boundary for my mom as well. So.
Okay.
Like I had mentioned before, I lived mostly with relatives and family friends. So calling them by their name, I didn't call them like mom and dad and things like that. Even though I know a lot of foster youth do call their foster parents mom and dad. And like to me, I was like, oh, I can't do that to you. Like it was a loyalty thing. But I think the harder part was explaining who they were to other people, like why I called them that. My second placement was with family friends, and I called them my grandparents. While they had worked at the school, in the school district that I was placed at, so everyone knew my grandma. And they were like, oh, so whose kid are you? Like, how is that your grandma? How are you related? And it was like, I have to explain everything to you because it's not just as simple as saying, oh, I'm this person's kid. So I think it was harder explaining to other people who they were and how they were important in my life rather than what to call them to them.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so what helped you feel more comfortable entering a new foster home? Can you remember anything from any of your placements when entering in there that somebody did that helped make you feel comfortable?
It wasn't until my third placement that I felt like really comfortable, but the foster home had kind of like just told everyone to go to the rooms and give us space, let us get the feel of the home, and they were just very supporting. They were very here, this is your room, this is where you're gonna be, this is the kitchen, and walked us through. At first it was like, okay, here's your room, and if you're ready, go out in the living room and meet with us. And it was that third time it was like, no, here, take your time, relax. And so it was very good, and it really helped. And I remember something that me and my family did before I was taken out of care is we always cleaned with loud music, and like we threw a party every time we cleaned. And so this family did something different, but it was still worth it. And it was during cooking time. So whenever they were cooking, they had music and they were all involved in helping out. So I was like, well, we didn't do that while we cooked. We did it while we cleaned, but I'll take it. So it was fun. It was really good during that time. Yeah, it helped me out.
Good.
I would say also my third and last placement, I was really struggling with, depression and really thinking about like who I am and what I want my future to be like. And I just wasn't sure about anything in my life and who I was. And they really just let me figure that out. There wasn't a pressure to be like, oh, you're sad, like you need to be happy, you need to cheer up and move on with your life. Which my first placement was more like that. It's like the only person that's going to make you happy is you. And the last placement was more emotionally attached, I suppose. They comforted me when I cried. They let me be in a bad mood and moody and angry because I'm a teenage girl and Lord knows we're hormonal. They just let me be me, completely raw, and just everything that meant. And I think that was the greatest gift that they could ever give to me because it was something that I never really felt like I had. And I don't think that I could have gotten over those obstacles if I wouldn't have had that support even at my worst.
Good. Thank you both. Is there a time that you can remember a foster parent going out of their way to help you feel welcome and included in like activities or different things that the family did?
Yeah, there was the home, and I refer to it as my good home because I had some bad homes. And so the good home, they enjoyed going to church, and they did it in a good way of allowing us a chance to go before the other homes were like, no, you're going with us. You're spending your Sunday either at the house with grandma or you're going to go and go to church with us. This family was like, well, you could come and there's this night and there's this night for kids and da-da-da, and it made it very friendly. But I remember the mom would always like sit me down and she's like, Isaiah, like what can we do to help you out? Like what else can we get going on? Or what did you and your family do? What made you guys happy? And or they would ask my mom, they would call her and like what made you and Isaiah and the brothers, happy. And so it was always rewarding just to know that someone that cared that much to dig deep and to figure out what was helping us in the past. And church became a good part of my life during that time because how friendly they were. So I'm like, well, let's just go to church. Like it's Tuesday afternoon, church isn't even open. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out something else. Let's, it was just, it was that kind of thing. But she was very like concerned, always taking that time just to talk to me. And I remember, I'm like, I see her when I was working at the kitchen for the last 2 years, and she would always come in and say hi, and it would just be those long talks that I just needed because she always put me in like the perspective of an adult, which I like to be in that perspective. So it was good. It was really good.
Good.
I would say my first placement, I'd entered right before Valentine's Day, which everyone's like, oh, I love, like love is just in the air, and I was like, no, no, love is in my air right now. And they had sent me flowers and balloons at school on Valentine's Day. And it was like when everyone else was all happy and I was all mad all day, and then I got that, and it just totally changed my whole perspective of the whole day. It changed my whole attitude. And it was just something so simple as sending flowers and saying that happy Valentine's Day and that they cared. Like, I didn't need a huge gesture. It was just something that simple.
Good. Okay, next question was, what was a sign of inclusiveness when you entered into a new foster home? So like that they were going to be ready to accept anybody who came into their home. Was there any sign of inclusiveness of?
Not that I can remember. I don't think I really experienced that.
What do you think that someone could have done to make you feel?
Well, so I would have loved at least some information about the families that I was going into before. A lot of the times I had no idea that they had a cat or a dog, or that there was 6 of them all in the house, or that there was only 2 kids. So usually when I went to the placements, it was later at night, and so it was like everything was already quiet, everything was died down, and people were going to sleep, and so waking up, you just see everyone. You're like, oh, you live here, okay. Oh, you're not a bio kid, you're an actual foster kid, and so just knowing that information would have been nice, because they know so much information about me when I entered. They're like, oh, well, your sisters are at another placement. We know all about that, and your mom and this, and your case and this. And I'm like, wait, how do you guys know all that? Why do you know all that? And so it would have been nice if they would have gave me a little info about them before, just made me feel more comfortable. Yeah, it would have been nice to know that they are allergic to something, or that their favorite color is purple or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or that they're mixed racial home and that they actually don't cook Mexican food, although they are Hispanic. So it's really weird. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to have grandma's cooking, but it was a different type of grandma that I was getting food from, so not my grandma. Anyways, but yeah, just to know that there was differences between the house would have been nice.
Okay.
My last foster parent, my third one, was my step grandma, was my mom's ex-stepmother, and they did not get along. And I knew that she was both feet in when she invited my mom over for Thanksgiving dinner, which was something that, like all through high school I didn't get to have because my mom didn't get along with my foster parents because they were her family or people that she just didn't get along with. So I spent a lot of holidays away from her, and then she would make me feel guilty about it because I was like having to choose between different family members. But my last foster parent, my grandma, she invited my mom over for Thanksgiving and then for Christmas. And she put their differences aside so that that was something that I could have. And I think that that was the most amazing sacrifice that she could make, because she was truly selfless in that time and really just cared that I could have a Christmas with her and my mom, Thanksgiving with her and my mom, and that we could all be together.
Okay, did you ever struggle with house rules in a new placement? And if you did, why did you struggle?
Mine were because there was older kids than me, and I was used to being the eldest, and so coming in, you kind of feel like you get to say, well, hey, like mom and dad said to do this, or you're supposed to do your chores, and I was always used to doing that. But there was older youth, and so it was a lot different. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not in charge anymore. I don't have the house, authority, and so it was very different to struggling as far as fighting with the elder siblings and trying to claim my spot. It was always a struggle for that, but other than that, I got over it. It was fine. It was fun. Memories.
I struggled with calling to check in, and that was like a huge ordeal because, like I was an only child at my mom's my whole life, and it was just kind of me, and I just kind of beat to my own drum. It was like, oh, I want to go do this, I want to go do that. Okay, like, and I never had to check in with anyone. I never had to like call and be like, this is where I am, this is where I'm going, this is when I'll be home. I just kind of came and left as I pleased, even when I was younger. But when I moved into all of my placements, the biggest struggle was calling to check in, because it just wasn't something that even went through my head. And it got so bad at, like, I never got grounded for behavior issues or anything like that. It was just because I wouldn't call and check in. They're like, what is the point of you having a phone if you're not going to call and check in with me? And then a freedom thing, because I was so independent. If I couldn't go do something, I was like, why? Like, why can't I go? So I like felt caged in, and that was something that I really struggled with.
To dig a little bit deeper into that, when you entered a new house, were the rules laid out in front of you? Were you talked to about the house rules, or how did you learn about check-ins that you were supposed to be checking in? Was it just kind of something in passing, like, hey, we like it if you checked in every once in a while, or
kind of just like you learn as you go? I wish that it came with a pamphlet or a book as to, this is how you be a good foster child, this is how you be a good foster parent, this is what you should do. Because to them it was common sense that I should call and check in, and to me it was something that I couldn't even fathom, I couldn't think about. So I learned by like getting in trouble, I guess, from the consequences. It wasn't it was something that they took very seriously. And I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm trying, I'm learning as I go, but it's like my natural instinct is not to call. So to go against everything that, how I'm programmed my whole life, now 15, 16 years in, it was hard. And then I was being punished because of the way that I grew up and like was raised to be, I guess. I don't know, like having to call someone was something so weird to me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to bug them. I'm just focused on what I'm doing here and now. And then I'd get in trouble. I'd get my phone taken away. I'd get grounded. And that was something that was hard because, like, I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong. I now see that they were just worried because they cared. But I think that it could have been handled a different way.
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, none of the rules that I've experienced were laid out in front of me. They were always just learn as you go in each home.
Were they the same in each home? Or
They were always different, especially from what I grew up. And I remember my younger siblings when we had our family visits. We would all come together, and there would be, this is so hard. Like, I'm not used to this way. And then they're a lot younger. And I'm like, are they talking to you? Are they trying to help you out at all? And they're like, no, it's just, they expect me to do so much. And so it was also a struggle for my younger siblings, not having kind of the experience that I did as far as like all the house rules and stuff like that. Um, they were forced to learn some. And so it was very learn as you go for them. But I just remember like living with my biological father. I thought that was going to be like the best place for me. And as far as like knowing his rules, I was like, oh, I could understand my dad. That would be fine. No, it was completely like, ooh, not over your head, Isaiah. So just yeah, each place I went to was definitely an extreme um, setting with rules and what I was used to. Very different.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where the struggle, and that's where conflict came, was with between me and the foster families. With the parents, I would always get in arguments with them because of the rules of the house or because of the way they were having their family. I'm like, I don't agree, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. So that's where the long talks came from. Is because I was disobeying and challenging their authority because I was used to kind of helping out my mom create those rules. We what worked in our family was because me and my mom, we talked about it and we made it work for everything, to where it was not just said, okay, this is how it's going to be, you have to follow it. And it was like, no, this is how it's going to be, are you okay with that? And how can we make this better? And so I always challenged them, and so I got in a lot of heated debates, I guess you could say, with the adults, about how their house was running. So that's a lot of struggles and challenges came from that.
Okay. I have one more question for you. If you could offer advice to a foster parent about welcoming a child or an adolescent into their home, what would it be?
Do not dress up like a clown. Just kidding. Don't go to that extreme. I would definitely say be as comfortable as you can, and allow that youth the space to um, get to know the surrounding, not rush it all in, I guess, at one night, but bits. Definitely provide them with information about your family and how your house runs would be nice in the beginning. Um, but include them in all your family um, things. Maybe it's playing Cards Against Humanity, or you're playing Monopoly, or whatever that may be. Definitely include them in all that. And if they say no, then just be patient and keep working at it. Because I was very not wanting to be a part of any of their families. So I was like, no, I'm not going to be playing card games with you guys, my family, or going to Thanksgiving with your family, because that's not my family, kind of thing. And so just be patient and try to, in the best way you can, with your boundaries and stuff, help out that youth feel comfortable.
I would also say that patience is a huge thing. And not to take everything personally, which is a really hard thing to do. But you just have to like step back and look at the big picture and look at where this child or children have been, and that maybe this is their fifth placement in the last 6 months. Of course they're gonna lash out. Of course they're gonna push the boundaries because they're not used to permanent people, often. And you know patience, patience, patience. I can't stress that enough. If you can be patient and let them get through their obstacles, because the trauma that they've just endured, like, keep that in mind, that they're lashing out, but it probably isn't because of you. It's probably because of the things that they've experienced. um,
So, what is your advice about handling that if somebody is just completely shut off and you want to have patience and let them sort of go through what they're going through, is what I hear you saying to me, but how do they do that without the young person feeling like they're being completely ignored?
I think that you can be patient and not ignore them. Just offer that you're there to talk and be sincere about it. Like, really, don't push them, because if they're not ready, then that's just going to make it worse. But let them know that you're there. Let them know that they're not going to be kicked out. just because it's a hard day or a hard week, and that it's going to get better, that they're in this together. It's not just the child against the world, and it's not just the foster parent or parents against the world, that it's a partnership, and that, you know, the obstacles that come in the way, they'll learn how to deal with them together. So just, I don't know, continuing to show them support. Don't just ignore them, but give them their space if they need it. But reassure that you're still going to be there.
Well, my thing was when I was like in those times of just not wanting to work well with the others, they would just say, okay, you can go to your room. Like, they gave me that freedom to go to my room and do. I was like, please. Sometimes it was yelling in the pillows. Sometimes I was writing in a book, crumpling it up and throwing it at the wall. Or I was just listening to music, and it was very loud all the time. But they allowed me to do what made me calm down or what made me come back. And then usually I was more willing to work with them and say, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, okay, we're gonna go to your dad's house. Cool, let's do it. Whatever. It was because they gave me my space to get that pain of not realizing I can't see my mom for another holiday, or I can't see my siblings for another holiday, or the fact that Christmas, it was, you know, the day before we were moved out of care, and so we entered care, not removed, but entered care. So how hard holidays were always for me, and they allowed me that space to get that pain out. And then, okay, now I say, well, come back to us, because they understood that I was very responsible and mentally able to like handle what I was going through, but I just needed that time. And so they gave me that self-care. And that's what I would recommend, is understanding that youth and seeing what works for them to get through that pain, and allowing them that space to get through it, and then re-engaging with them. And if that pain is, they're not handling it in the best way, then give them healthy ways to handle it. I always did theater after school, which was a great thing for me, and choir. And then, like I said, church became a very good thing for me to handle all my pain. And so give that youth some healthy ways to handle it, but also allow that youth what they've been doing for all those years to still have that space to do it. And if it's a temper tantrum, then you put them in a safe room to have that temper tantrum, and then you re-engage with them after. But if not, then give them a toy to play with, or give them a book to read, or just tell them, hey, there's that room, and yell in it all day long if you want to, and you have that space, you have that place to let go of that pain that you're holding in. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being here with me today and answering my questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, or?
Well, if foster kids are watching, I would definitely say don't be afraid to talk to the foster parents. Take that step. If you're not getting someone talking to you, then take that step to talk to someone and tell them, hey, this is what's not working for me, or I don't like your
Maybe in a nice
in a nicer way, not a Mama Zay's way, but in a nicer way. Definitely take that step.
As much as we'd like to think that adults are mind readers, they're usually not. So, like Isaiah said, open communication is just so important. I think a lot of conflict comes from not having that open and clear communication.
Okay. Thank you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.